Hello everyone, I'm Laurie Ollhoff, Assistant Director at the TV Scott Free Library, and welcome to another edition of Digital Bytes. Today's Digital Byte is being brought to you by the WVLS and WLS IDEA team, and will cover taking pride in who we are. It's not about the letter, it's about the person. So, what was once a simple four-letter acronym that rolled off the tongue, LGBT, has nearly doubled, adopted a plus sign, and nobody can agree which acronym is the right one. So, what is it about LGBTQ plus that we need to know? Why is it so long? Why should it be? Let me give you a little history about the acronym LGBT. The first four letters of the acronym have been used since the 1990s, where a variety of orientations and identities had previously been referred to as the gay community and later the gay and lesbian community. The acronym eventually evolved as a way to be more inclusive of other identities. Why has the acronym changed over time? Well, much like anything else, one thing is to remember that words and meanings are always evolving. Bisexual, as defined by Sigmund Freud, originally meant a person was both a man and a woman. Being both a man and a woman is now referred to as bigender under the transgender umbrella. And bisexuality is attraction to multiple, all genders. The original acronym has gained more letters designed to help better represent other identities related to sexual orientation and gender identity. While the variations such as LGBT or LGBTQ are often used, many advocates argue that the addition of the plus is important and should not be overlooked. The purpose of the acronym is to represent the tremendous diversity of people who are same, similar gender attracted and transgender. The addition of the plus is better able to fully capture that diversity. So let's take a look at the acronym and the letters that it involves in what was referred to as our vegetable soup. For many of us, these are familiar terms to everyone when speaking with the LGBTQ plus community. Lesbian is a woman-aligned person who is attracted to only people of the same, similar gender. Gay is usually a term used to refer to men-aligned individuals who are only attracted to people of the same, similar gender. However, lesbians can also be referred to as gay. The use of the term gay became more popular during the 1970s. Today, bisexual and pansexual people sometimes use gay to casually refer to themselves when they talk about their similar gender attraction. B. Bisexual indicates an attraction to all genders. The recognition of bisexual individuals is important, since there have been periods when people who identify as bi have been misunderstood as being gay. Bisexuality has included transgender, binary, and non-binary individuals since the release of the Bisexual Manifesto in 1990. T. Transgender is a term that indicates that a person's gender identity is different from the gender associated with the sex they were assigned at birth. Q. Q or questioning. For some, queer is a loaded word. It has, for years, there were the negative connotation from a less accepting time that was hurled at anyone perceived to be gay. But for others, particularly the younger LGBTQ people, it is a reclaimed term and a less restrictive self-identifier. It is seen as a catch-all term that doesn't force someone into a restricting or restrictive box. Robin Oakes, a bisexual activist and campus speaker and editor of Bi Woman Quarterly, said she is not surprised at all since she sees the trend among young people in her work as a campus speaker. She states, "We come to our identities for strong personal reasons, and it's my belief that if we took the entire LGBTQ plus community and locked us in a room and told us we can't come out until we reached consensus, we would spend the rest of our lives in that room," she said. Oakes said that coming out as a bisexual still elicits negative responses even today, for a variety of reasons, including an assumption from other non-straight people that bisexuals benefit from heterosexual privilege. Oakes said she added the word queer to her identity in the 1990s and recently added pansexual too. "I see those three different words almost as describing. Is something blue? Or is it turquoise? Or is it azure?" Oakes said, "I think that they are all overlapping terms. They can overlap comfortably." Though queer may be used by people as a specific identity, it is often considered an umbrella term for anyone who is non-cisgender or heterosexual. But it is also a slur, as I mentioned the negative connotation earlier. It should not be placed on all members of the community and should only be used by cisgender and heterosexual individuals when referring to a person who explicitly identifies with it. Questioning, of course, refers to people who may be unsure of their sexual orientation and/or gender identity. So while variations such as LGBT or LGBTQ are often used, many advocates argue that the addition of the plus is important. As mentioned before, the purpose of that acronym is to represent that tremendous diversity, and adding that plus it provides the opportunity to better capture that diversity. There are a few additional terms that I wanted to share with you today. Cisgender is of or relating to or being a person whose gender identity corresponds with the sex the person had or was identified as having at birth. Another term that we often hear is non-binary, and I had mentioned that earlier in this presentation. A trans non-binary person is someone who doesn't identify with the sex that was assigned at birth, trans, and also has a gender identity that can't be categorized as exclusively male or female, non-binary. So like many others, we wonder, what letters do I use? LGBT, LGBTQ, LGBT+, and so on. What is the proper way to address someone that is from the LGBT plus community? We want everyone to be included. We want everyone to be accepted. You wonder, or we wonder, did I just offend that person because I misspoke and did not use the proper term correctly? So we're going to cover a few do's and don'ts in inclusive language for the LGBTQ plus community. And these are just to name a few. I am sure there are many more that we could share with one another if we were here live. So let's take a look. So you want to avoid saying homosexual. Say instead gay or lesbian. Homosexual often connotes a medical diagnosis or a discomfort with gay, lesbian people. The example here would be, we want to do a better job of being inclusive of our gay and lesbian patrons, employees, and friends. Another word or words to avoid saying is a gay or a transgender. It's a gay transgender person. Gay and transgender are adjectives that describe a person or a group. Avoid saying both genders or opposite sexes. Instead, say all genders. Both implies there are only two. Opposite reinforces that antagonism against genders. Another one, and we often use this when we are in groups, presenting at conferences, in workshops, we'll say, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we need to avoid saying that. Say instead, everyone, or folks, or honored guests, or special guests. Moving away from binary language is more inclusive of all people, of all genders. And another one that we commonly hear, mailman, fireman, policeman, etc. Say instead the mail clerk, firefighter, police officer, etc. So when we're referring to our youngsters that come into our libraries, we're talking about they want to find a book on firemen, or they ask about a policeman. Where can I find books about that? Refer to them and correct them carefully with firefighter, police officer. People of all genders do these jobs, and we want everyone to be aware of that. Another one, it. When referring to someone, say instead they. It is for referring to things and not people. So what can I do? Well, first of all, examine the assumptions and biases that exist in your world about LGBTQ plus people. Don't assume everyone you meet is cisgender and or heterosexual. And introduce yourself with pronouns. I know that's something that I had to start doing. It wasn't something that I had done in the past, and there are times that I still miss that part of my introduction. Listen. Take a moment to ask questions about what the person is saying or asking. Not making any assumptions or jumping to conclusions is really important and hard to do. Take a moment and try to figure out what the person may be communicating about their sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. Be open and ask open-ended questions about pronouns, gender identity, sexual orientation, and use the correct pronouns and identity labels. Why does this representation matter? Well, the LGBTQ plus acronym serves an important purpose. Not only is it designed to be more inclusive, but it is also a representation of the self-identities of people who are transgender and or similar gender attracted. The use of the acronym is intended to be an all-encompassing way to recognize different gender identities and sexual orientations. The addition of other identities to the LGBT acronym also plays an important role in recognizing and connecting them to a larger community. It also means that these individuals are able to gain greater recognition by society as a whole. Rather than being erased or ignored or denied, acknowledgement can help foster greater visibility of marginalized identities. Visibility can also help create a greater sense of self-affirmation of a person's identity. Going to our library collections, making sure that we keep our collections diverse Research has found that offering inclusive and affirmative environments is important for LGBTQ+ youth. Research also suggests that despite safety concerns, being visible as a member of the LGBTQ+ community can be an important way to feel a sense of pride in individual identity, and that is important for all of us. Affirming self-identity can help people feel greater self-esteem, self-worth, and boost overall mental well-being. This can be particularly important since representation has long been lacking in the mainstream media. The good news is that there have been improvements made in recent years to change all of this. A recent GLAAD report suggests that the representation of LGBTQ+ characters and relationships on television is higher than ever previously seen on TV, which is wonderful. So how do you know when to use the term LGBTQ+? The purpose of the term is to be inclusive of all same gender attracted and trans people. Use a specific term if you are talking about issues that may be specific to a particular orientation or identity. Be specific when talking about individuals. LGBTQ+ is also an adjective for the community as a whole, not for a single person. And first and foremost, through all of the things that we've discussed in this presentation, if you wouldn't ask a straight or cisgender person a particular question, don't ask an LGBTQ+ person. Be kind, be caring, and be inclusive. Here are some of the resources that were used in preparation for this presentation, and there are many more out there. Very useful websites, great organizations. One of them that I mentioned here in the presentation resources is the Trevor Project, and that is a wonderful resource for youth. If you have any further questions, my contact information is provided for you here. Thank you for taking the time to view this Digital Byte. We will have more coming from the WVLS and WLS IDEA team, and we hope to see you again soon.